Next man up, 1025, the game on this Monday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Another Monday, another Titans loss. Titans fall to 0-3 on the year, falling 41-20 to the Indianapolis Colts. The game was never really close. Cam Ward throws a pick six on the third play of the game, and Indy never looked back on their way to 3-0. And Parker, we talked about it all last week. I said multiple times that for Brian Callahan to save his job, to start digging himself out of the hole that he's put himself in through the first 19 games, but specifically the first 2 games of this year, he needed an impressive win at home against a divisional opponent. Go out there and win and make it look good, like this team is progressing. And I think we might have gotten the exact opposite of that in yesterday's game.
Jake, you knew that I was not high on this Titans team entering into this game. I was listening to Teron Davenport. He called into the pregame show. I was listening to him on my way up to the press box. And just the report that he gave, Teron Davenport, he's a pretty optimistic guy, but he was not optimistic yesterday when he was giving his report. I get up to the press box. I look at the crowd. Then I look at the team warming up, and I knew what was about to happen. It was inevitable.
It was not good. Not good at all. We'll talk about the crowd a good amount in this game, too. I was in that crowd yesterday. I was one of the few who was out there at Nissan Stadium. We'll talk about that throughout the show. But we have to start with Brian Callahan. After the Broncos game, we had the conversation over and over about how the head coach cannot be the reason you're losing games. And yesterday, I will say for Brian Callahan, there were a lot more issues on that team than Brian Callahan's decisions yesterday. But this is the second time in 3 weeks where we're starting the show talking about the bad game management decisions that he made. And for the head coach, that should be the easy stuff, right? Just knowing situations, knowing rules, obviously. We got to that in the Denver game. But knowing situations and what you need to do, that should be the easy stuff for the head coach. The hard stuff is getting the guys to play for you and getting the guys to be, maximizing the potential of your team and play calling, like setting up and designing plays. But the decision-making of how to approach different situations should be the stuff that Brian Callahan knows like the back of his hand. And in that spot at the end of the first half, you had just tried a 64-yard field goal, by the way, and it didn't work out, which is fine. I'm okay. Joey Sly's been so good. He's got the leg for it. I had no problem with trying the 64-yard field goal. But you get to 3rd and 2 with under a minute left in the first half. And instead of being a little bit aggressive, you play for the field goal, just like he did last week at the end of the first half. Complete polar opposite of what he did in Denver. But he played for the field goal. Indy calls timeout. You call timeout. And somehow you still, he said it was the kicker ball that wasn't out there. That's what he told CBS, was that they couldn't get the kicking ball in, and they take a delay of game. And now you've got to kick a 62-yard field goal. It gets deflected, and Indy still has plenty of time and 2 timeouts to go down and add 3 of their own. You cost your team 6 points in that spot. And that cannot happen if you're the head coach of an NFL team. Because that is now twice in 3 weeks where at the end of the half, you have swung it in the complete opposite direction. You could have been leading at halftime against Denver. Instead, you're down 10-9. You got lucky that Chimdike helped you out to even get 3 points there. And then yesterday, not saying that it was going to be a huge difference between what? It would have been 17-9 and 20-6. You're not really in the game all that much anyway. The Colts went right down and scored, and they made it 27-6 too. Whatever. It's not like it affected the outcome of the game. You were going to lose either way. But we cannot be talking about the head coach making these horrible decisions twice out of 3 weeks to start the year.
I imagine the conversation wasn't very pretty after he cost his team a touchdown in week 1 in Denver. He didn't cost the team a touchdown in this spot, but he cost them 3 points that likely could have made this a 1-possession game. This is malpractice to the highest degree. It can't keep happening. They iced their own kicker. They iced their own kicker by calling the timeout and then getting the penalty. And you put your guy in a position to, Joey Sly has a leg, but 64 yards?
I mean, I had no problem with them trying the 64-yarder because that one I believe was it was 4th and long. Like it wasn't like it was a decision of whether to go for it or not. I think Cam Ward might have gotten sacked right before that, if I'm remembering correctly.
I'm just confused why they weren't aggressive.
Right. That's what I'm saying is that you had it 3rd and 2. I would have, I mean, if you're going to run it, honestly, I would have gone for it there instead of kicking it. You just missed a 64-yarder. You're down by 11 at that point. Be aggressive. And it seems like the decision that Brian Callahan always makes is the one that doesn't work out. And I know it's a hindsight's 2020. If Brian Callahan in Denver, if the Titans had broke out of the back of their their own 7-yard line and been able to take it down and get 3, and instead of leading 6-3 heading into halftime against Denver, it's 9-3, then we're all saying, oh, wow, how aggressive is he? Like, the Dan Campbell kind of stuff of like, oh, he's aggressive, but it works out. And yesterday, if it worked out for him and you make the field goal and the Colts don't score, then maybe we're having a different conversation. But it seems like every time he makes a decision, it just doesn't seem to work out. And we can't be having this conversation about the head coach twice out of 3 weeks. And it's not like last week he did anything spectacular. And honestly, all three games, the end of first half decision-making has been questionable at best. Like last week, it ended up working out for him where you're like, all right, well, he played for the field goal. He played it safe and they got 3 points to head into the halftime break and they led by 3, whatever. It worked out. But that's a spot where I would have liked to see them be a little bit more aggressive too. It's like, why are you being aggressive on your own 7-yard line? And then back-to-back weeks, you're across midfield and you have a chance to go be aggressive and you just run it in the line and try and settle for a field goal. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And we can't continue to have the conversation about Brian Callahan being a problem for this team. Like you have to at least be a net zero if you're going to if you're going to keep your job. And right now he is actively hurting this team. Yeah,
somebody asked the question yesterday. I can't remember who. It might have been on Twitter, comparing Brian Callahan to Ken Wisenhunt. And the records are very comparable, but what is not is the roster. Ken Wisenhunt had a far less talented roster than this one. It's neither are great, but this roster compared to Ken Wisenhunt's is a little bit better. The problem is the coach keeps costing you opportunities, keeps costing you points. That's the big problem.
Right. Like if this team was just bad, that's one thing. And they are pretty bad. Like this is not a good team, but the coach is clearly not helping them in game, and the coach is clearly not developing this team. I mean, Robin Rexroad just played the Michael Pittman cut. We can play that again. Actually, is that? I think we have that.
Yeah, give me one second.
I honestly thought this quote was kind of fake. Like I really didn't. I didn't believe it because although I know Jeremy Gover is a reliable source, there was no video of it. But we did hear it on Robbie and Rexroad. Here is the clip of Michael Pittman talking about what he saw from the Titans players before the game.
When you hear the crowd turn on the home team like that, just in general, not necessarily here specifically, is there a blood in the water type mentality for you guys? I mean, every team, every coach, they're all looking for any kind of advantage they can get. I would think that'd be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of seen it on the pregame intros. They kind of looked a little sluggish. They're kind of walking around, and nobody was really bouncing. And right then and there, like we all sat there and we're like, they don't want to play today. And I think that's how we found our edge today is just mentally we thought that we wanted to play more than they did.
That was Michael Pittman after the game yesterday, basically saying that from the word go, they saw that the Titans weren't ready to play yesterday. That is an indictment on the head coach. If you're, because that is the one thing, not to compare everything Brian Callahan does to Mike Vrabel, but you never had the question of whether Mike Vrabel's teams were ready to play. And that's a pretty big indictment. I think this one is worse though. Jim Wyatt yesterday put his 6 things that stand out from the game on Titans website. Again, like I'm sure everyone out there knows Jim Wyatt works for the Titans. He is employed by the Tennessee Titans. Here is what he said on the end of the first half. If you're looking for someone to rip the head coach or to question everything that's wrong with this 0-3 football team, then the team website isn't the place you're going to find it. But I was sitting in my press box seat on the 50-yard line for Sunday's game, so I plainly saw what happened at the end of the first half. And I'd be lying if I said it was anything but a mess.
Jim Wyatt.
If
Even
one
Jim
of
Wyatt.
the Titans' own employees, and like I understand Jim Wyatt, he's been doing this for a long time for the Titans and not for the Titans. So he's a guy that you trust. And if he's basically saying, yeah, if I didn't work for the Titans, I'd be ripping the head coach for that decision making at the end of the first half, that's when you know things are going bad. It is not good over there. And Brian Callahan, I will say this, Brian Callahan is not going to get fired today. But the Titans do their firings on Tuesdays. I'm mostly joking there because Brian Callahan is scheduled to meet with the media today. You would assume that if he was going to be let go, they wouldn't let him meet with he wouldn't, throw him up there behind the podium and talk to the media and then let him go the next day. So Brian Callahan's going to be on the sidelines on Sunday in Houston, but I think he's starting to run out of chances after yesterday's game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have thoughts, want to just vent on the Titans' 41-20 loss to the Colts yesterday, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, or you can text or call. We'd love to hear from you. Plenty more to come on the show today. We're going to talk mostly Titans. Do have to talk some college football today. Vandy and the Vols, both with dominant home wins over the weekend against UAB and Georgia State. We'll also get into some baseball because there is something going on around baseball that has turned from just a disaster for myself, but now it is a national story and maybe something historic we're watching. We'll do that later. We're going to stick with the Titans. Is Brian Callahan running out of time? We'll do it next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
Brian, how many more opportunities do you think you guys are going to get to get this thing right, given how difficult it's been?
I don't really worry about that, Buck, to be honest. My focus is on trying to make sure our football team is in as good a place as possible. And the rest of that stuff is what it is. I don't think about those things. And you really can't. I mean, this is hard enough as it is to put those other things and think about that. It doesn't do anybody any good. So I just go to work and work as hard as I can. I put as much effort as I can into this. And, that is what it is.
That was Brian Callahan yesterday. After the game, he was asked how many more opportunities he thinks he's going to get to fix this. And I'm starting to wonder that too. I don't really know how much longer of a leash they're going to give him. Again, I don't think he's going to get fired this week. I know we're seeing texts on the text line saying they need to fire him today. They need to fire him this week. I don't think he's getting fired. They would not have announced a press conference for him today at 12:30 if he was going to be fired tomorrow. Because again, the Titans do their firings on Tuesdays, as we found out. I don't think he's going to be gone this week, but I don't know if he coaches another game in Nissan Stadium. Like, is that fair to ask that question? 3 straight road games. The Texans are 0-3. So I'm not super impressed by the Texans, but you line those two teams up on paper. The Texans are more talented. It's in Houston. And this is a Texans team that has some sort of expectations for this season, back-to-back division champs. I think they're going to go out there and they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder and play desperate. Based on what we've seen, I don't think we're going to get that from the Titans this week. So likely you're 0-4. Do you win either of those games on the road against Arizona or Vegas? I don't know. I think there's a decent chance that this team is winless when they get back to Nissan Stadium to face the Patriots on October 19th. And I don't know if Brian Callahan's going to be the head coach.
Don't know how long of a leash Amy has for Callahan because they considered firing him at the end of last year. That article by TD and Jeremy Fowler was excellent. There's a good chance this team could be 0-6 by the time Vrabel returns to Nashville. That's a very likely possibility. You have the Texans who have struggled, but their backs are against the wall. The Titans are just flat out bad. At least the Texans have CJ Stroud, who's been somewhat proven up to this point. They have a pretty good run game, pretty good receiver core. And then you have the Raiders, the Cardinals, 3-game road stretch. It's a very likely possibility that they're 0-6.
Yeah, I don't really see a whole lot of wins on this schedule, if any. I mean, the Browns and Saints are not very good. You see what the Saints did yesterday? I mean, oh my goodness, they got crushed by the Seahawks. And it wasn't even like they didn't turn the ball over a ton. It's not like the stats were pretty similar at halftime, but it was like 38-6 at halftime. So that maybe you could beat the Saints at home. Maybe you could beat the Browns in Cleveland, although Cleveland just beat the Packers yesterday. So
even the Panthers got a win over the Falcons.
30-0.
Yeah.
What is the NFL it's a weird place. And
Penix got benched yesterday too. So.
I don't know if the Titans are going to have many wins on their schedule. I saw this from Nick Suss this morning. Nick Suss tweeted out, in 2024, the Titans stumbled to an 0-3 start with losses to the Bears, Jets, and Packers. And Will Levis and company were outgained by a total of 10 yards in those 3 games. So even though you lost, relatively close. In 2025, the Titans' losses to the Broncos, Rams, and Colts, the Titans have been outgained by 454 yards in 3 games. That is horrible. Nick Suss tweeting that out from the Tennessean. So there's not a whole lot of redeeming qualities. Like, I wish I could sit here and just be like, yeah, like they lost, but they look good here and here. And I don't really have much. Like, there were some plays yesterday that were better than others. I thought Cam Ward made some plays down the stretch in garbage time where it's like you still see the flashes. That throw he had to Ridley in the end zone was another ridiculous throw, hit Ridley in the chest. It was good coverage, but there were some things that you're like, all right, at least maybe we have the quarterback, but I don't really have much else on the positive side.
It's too much to ask. You're $90 million receiver to catch football. Too much to ask.
Yeah. Joey from Bellevue says, Jake, you also said the Colts weren't good and they destroyed us. The Browns did beat a Super Bowl contender and that game is in Cleveland. Yeah, I'm not saying I would pick the Titans to win that game. I'm just looking at games where maybe you can match up with them. And yeah, I'll own up. I'll eat some crow. I said the Colts aren't very good, and the Colts came in here and punched the Titans in the mouth and never looked back. So, shout out to the Colts, Indy Ben, and all the Colts fans out there who listen. Shout out. That's a 3-0 team, and I did not think it was going to look like that yesterday. That is for sure. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, questions, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Johnny asked, do either of you remember who else was on the short list when Callahan was hired? And do you know where those potential candidates are now? This is an interesting exercise because Brian Callahan was a hot commodity on the head coaching market last year. That is another quote that was in there in the Jeremy Fowler and Teron Davenport article of they did not forget how highly regarded he was around the league when they made the hire. So here are the 10 Titans head coaching candidates that they interviewed. Antonio Pierce. He got 1 year as the head coach of the Raiders and got fired. Aaron Glenn is now the head coach of the Jets. So we don't really know there. Mike Kafka is the Giants OC. I believe he's still there, right? Under Daboll.
Yes, he is.
Brian Johnson, the Eagles offensive coordinator.
Who got fired.
Yes. Dan Quinn. I would take Dan Quinn. See, that,
I would too.
That's one of those where I think that's the direction the Titans might end up going is go get a guy with experience after what's going on with Callahan. Because the biggest thing with Callahan is he seems over his head. He seems overwhelmed. And
there's a lot of new.
If you can get a guy who's done it before, like a Dan Quinn, I think that would be good. Mike McDonald, who's now the Seahawks head coach. Thomas Brown, the Panthers offensive coordinator. Bobby Slowick, who was he was the most popular name, I believe, for the Titans.
He's now the passing game coordinator for the Dolphins, who are also 0-3.
He got fired from the Texans job. Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. But Ben Johnson, obviously, he did not take a job that cycle. He was offered the Commander's job, didn't take it. So I don't think there's a huge difference in a lot of the guys. Like I think Dan Quinn obviously has turned out to be maybe the best. Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, their first year head coaches. We'll see. A lot of those guys not only didn't end up being head coaches, they got fired from their job as coordinators. So,
Dan Quinn's the only proven successful coach right now.
Right. Glenn and Johnson are the only two who are still head coaches. Ben Johnson yesterday did get his first win. I cannot believe he pulled out the good, better, best chant in the locker room after. Did you see this? That celebrating?
Yeah, I did see
that. I was like, maybe that's something that they do over there, but I was like, man, that's like what you hype up your middle school basketball team with, not an NFL team full of adults. But anyway, Chip from Mount Juliet says if they lose to the Texans, I believe the Titans make a move with Callahan. He's on a short leash for sure. And we do bring up the Patriots game could end up being the turning point because of the Vrabel of it all. But Amy Adams Strunk also hates losing to Houston, right? Like maybe that's one that we should be looking at. Nothing has been good enough for the Titans this year, whether it's the coaching, the players haven't been good enough. I know Jeffrey Simmons was talking about how Brian Callahan's not on the field missing tackles. So that's part of it too. We thought maybe Denard Wilson was going to be a plus for this team after week 1. The last 2 weeks have not been good for the Titans defense. Special teams is still the only thing that maybe the Titans can hang their hat on, and they missed a couple of long field goals yesterday.
Take that out. What are the Titans good at right now? Take out special teams. What is there to be optimistic about? Alec Manor?
Yeah, Alex still looked good. I thought Chig played well yesterday. You wish you would have hauled in that pass up the seam. It wasn't an easy catch, but I thought Chig was fine yesterday. There's not a whole lot to be optimistic about, and it doesn't seem like Brian Callahan's going to get fired after that game, but I think Houston, maybe this could be it. It's very rare to see a head coach fired in September, but we're seeing very rare things happen with Brian Callahan as the head coach. Like these are not normal circumstances. I would not be shocked if the next time the Titans play in Nissan Stadium on October 19th, if there is somebody else who is the interim head coach.
We've seen Eberflus get fired in November of last year after the Thanksgiving game, right? And then Frank Reich. Frank Reich was fired after 11 games with the Panthers in his first season.
Let's see. Earliest head coach firings. I'd like to see if there's any that have made it. Has anybody not gotten through September? Like,
Not that I know of, but if it's year 2 and things are looking worse than they did last year, and you were picking number 1 last year, then I don't know. Maybe this is an outlier year.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the point of keeping him is, unless Cam Ward. If you feel like Cam Ward's development is going to be stunted by getting rid of him, like if Cam relies on Callahan, and we don't know what that relationship is like, the last thing you want to do is hurt Cam Ward, because that's really the only thing you got going for you right now. So I don't know what's going on there, but I really don't know. I don't know how you can justify keeping him much longer with what's going on.
And I wanted to bring up something on the defense. The defense is in such a weird spot because if they rush forward, it's not enough. And the quarterback has all day to throw in the pocket. There's absolutely zero pressure. But if they blitz, like they blitzed Daniel Jones yesterday, he found a way and escaped and got like 20-yard gain on 3rd and long.
Yep.
So what do you do?
They can't get to the passer. Like Daniel Jones, there was multiple times yesterday where you saw the pocket collapsing around him, and they just could not keep him in, and he kept making plays. Daniel Jones looked good yesterday. Like Indiana Jones is I was not high on them. I was not high on Jones, the Colts, really anything after their 2-0 start. And I'll eat some crow. They looked good yesterday. Jonathan Taylor looked good, and they crushed the Titans. Adam in Portland on our text line says, what we all need to understand is that there is a countdown to Cam Ward getting hurt. Not only does the coach do absurd things every week, he also hasn't gotten any better at protecting our best player. He and his father can leave together and talk about it at Thanksgiving. We still have a long season that we can enjoy if we do it now. Adam, I don't think you're going to enjoy any part of this season.
There's going to be no enjoyment.
No matter who is the head coach. Like, sorry, Mike McCoy or Bones Fossil putting the headset on and being the head coach isn't going to change that this is just a bad team. And I don't think they're going to go 0-17. It's really tough to do that. Like, you've got to have generationally bad quarterback play. You've got to have, pretty much no talent on the roster whatsoever to go 0-16 or 0-17. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I wouldn't set the over-under on wins much higher than 3.5 right now. And that might even be a little bit high. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, you can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. When we come back, the crowd was also a big factor yesterday. Or maybe it wasn't a big factor, but it was a big topic of conversation because there were not a lot of people in the seats at Nissan Stadium. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game.
Cam, this is your adopted now hometown team, and to hear boos come down from fans, how does that make you feel?
I play football, so I'm always gonna have my opinion. I'm not really too worried about that, and I'm trying to score points. We ain't do that enough to win the game today. But I mean, if I was them, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be mad too. I'm trying to win football games, the same as there. So if that's what they're gonna do, we got to lock in as a group in the locker room and continue to motivate each other, push each other, and try to get a win.
That was Cam Ward after yesterday's game talking about the boos that came down from the Titans crowd. I thought it was a good answer from Cam Ward. It is the right of the paying fan to be able to boo if they want to, and they used that right multiple times yesterday. I thought the funniest one was the Mike Keith, honoring Mike Keith, putting him in the Ring of Honor, and the crowd took the opportunity to boo Burke Nihill.
That was hilarious.
I just thought that was a little excessive, but they booed frequently yesterday, and heading into the halftime locker room, there were "Fire Callahan" chants. I was up top, so I was actually in the stadium as a fan yesterday, and I was sitting up in the 300 section. So I didn't hear the "Fire Callahan" chants very loudly. I think they might have come from down low, but I did hear the boos. I will say that crowd was kind of sad yesterday. And you texted me, Parker, right at kickoff. I was getting into my seats, and you texted me and said, this crowd is maybe the worst that you've ever seen at Nissan. And I looked down the aisle that I was sitting in. And again, I was up high, so it's not like I was in the lower bowl. The lower bowl was pretty full. But I looked to my left, I looked to my right, and you could walk 8 sections across Nissan Stadium in my aisle without hitting another person. That is how empty it was up top. Like, it was, there was almost nobody there. At least in the upper deck. Even the club level looked pretty thin. This team's got the number 1 overall pick playing quarterback. That should be a draw that gets people out to this game. And that's what I thought it would be last week against the Rams. It's Cam Ward's home debut. I thought the crowd would be pretty good, and it was better than it was yesterday. But I still thought that would be a draw to bring people out. Is all right, well, the team may not be very good, but we can go watch what hopefully is the future of the franchise at quarterback. And that doesn't seem to be working. And the fans left in the third quarter. I did leave before the 000s. I made it to the fourth, but
you were one of the pretty much everyone that did that.
I made it to the fourth quarter, but I did not stay for the end of that game. I gave it a shot. I watched Alec Iamaner's touchdown, and I was like, you know what? We'll stay, see what happens here. And then the Colts went down and scored and ended it. But it was horrible. And the crowd, the ones that showed up, mostly just booed the team. And there's really not a product that's worth showing up for right now. How many home wins did the Titans have in the last 3 years? They had 1 last year, none this year.
Not enough.
Let's see.
That's the only answer.
How many did they win at home? Like, and I get it. Like, if you're going to keep showing up, I remember sitting up there. I was in the upper deck for the Bills Monday Night Football game back in 2021, where the Titans stuffed Josh Allen on 4th and 1 and won that game. It was a huge win. I was out there, and everybody in the 300 sections was into the game. Like, you're cheering on every single play. You're getting loud on defense. Everybody in my section yesterday didn't seem to care at all. So the Titans actually did win some games at home back in 2023. They actually went 5-3 at home in 2023. I did not realize that. Wins against Chargers, Bengals, Falcons.
The Chargers game was the overtime game.
Right. Panthers, and then Jacksonville in Derrick Henry's last game.
Yeah.
So they went 5-3 at home in 2023. They went 1-7, 1-8 away from
6
home.
home wins in the last two seasons and 3 games.
Yeah. Well, and you can go back even further because the 7-game losing streak to end 2022 as well. Yeah. So it's been horrible. The last home win was that Patriots game. That's the only home win that Brian Callahan has had. And if there's not a product, people aren't going to show up. And that's why I wonder if maybe Brian Callahan isn't going to be on the sidelines for that next game, because I think maybe that's the only way you can get people to come back around is if you make a change like that. Robert says, if someone gave me tickets, I wouldn't drive the hour and a half to go. I was just, I was in the area. Tickets were only like $25. I was like, you know what? I'll go. 12-year-old me would be mad if I didn't go to a Titans game when I had the opportunity to. I did. It was bad. And the Titans continue to see that fan base dwindle. And you wonder how long Titans fans who did show up are going to keep showing up if it continues to look like this.
Here's where I'm at with Titans fan. I had a dentist appointment on Thursday, and I went to the dentist, and the lady who was doing my teeth, she is a huge Titans fan, but her and her husband, they stopped renewing their season tickets because the people that were in charge of distributing were very terrible to her. And I've been hearing these stories repeatedly, not just with her, but this keeps happening. So if you look at the Titans fan base, who's already small enough, and I went to college in Chicago, and nobody ever talked about the Titans. I was probably the only Titans fan anyone ever met up there. Nobody talks about the Titans. There are not a lot of Titans fans. And if you're losing the Titans fans that you already have, you're going to become the Chargers at some point.
No, it is. That's a good point. You are going to get to the point, especially with the tourism draw of this city, that, I mean, it already happens. The Vikings game, the Packers game last year, that was basically a road game in your own stadium. That's going to start happening consistently, even more consistently than it already does. I would bet that Patriots game, it's going to be 40, 50% Patriots fans in that building, which is, it's not what you want, but right now, Titans fans have no reason to show up. Alex Jameson in our YouTube chat says, Vanderbilt sold out playing Georgia State. It's a Titans problem, not a fan problem. That is a very good point because we've seen it with the Titans, with the Predators, with Vanderbilt. When this city gets a team that is worthy of going to watch, they rally around it. Like, Bridgestone Arena is a great hockey environment when that team's good.
Even when the Preds were bad last year, I thought the crowds were still decent.
Preds fans are much less fair weather than Titans fans, I will say that. But when teams are good around here, the city rallies around them. The crowd on Saturday night for Vandy and Georgia State was awesome. And it should have been better if it wasn't for the lightning delay, which we can get into the stupid rules of the 8-mile radius of lightning. And I mean, they held up people getting into the stadium at probably the peak time that people are coming into the stadium. There was a sea of people down there. And I understand this isn't Vandy's fault. This is the rules. Like, there's nothing you could do. You have to stop it. But I would guess that a percentage of those people just decided not to come into the building.
Yeah.
It would have been better, but it was still a really good environment on Saturday night because Vandy's a top 20 team in the country. They're 3-0, now 4-0. People show up to watch good teams. You have to give them a better product to go out and watch.
Nashville, really just Tennessee sports fans in general, are some of the most loyal people. And I'm not just saying that because I've lived here my whole life. I mean, it's true. But if you lose your loyal fans like this, I mean, pretty much kiss the hopes of selling out that new stadium goodbye.
Right. Like, this is the time that you need to build up that fan base so you do sell out the new stadium. Doesn't seem like things are trending in the right direction. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. We'll get to some of your phones coming up next. It was a tough one yesterday. 41-20. The fans didn't show up, and the ones who did basically booed the team off the field, which is, it's not what you want in September for your football team that just got the season started, now 0-3. Mondays were made for Macero. Big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action. From queso to kickoffs, this is how Macero does game night. Macero Football Mondays in 12 South. Don't miss a snap. Big game tonight, Ravens and Lions. Get out there to Macero to watch Monday Night Football. Again, we'll keep talking Titans on the other side. Get your texts and calls in, 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, reacting to another Titans loss. 41-20 yesterday against the Indianapolis Colts. Titans fall to 0-3 and getting ready for a 3-game road trip. Back-to-back home games, back-to-back losses, back-to-back lackluster crowds. It's not going well in pretty much any aspect for the Tennessee Titans right now. And the question I have is just, how bad is this Titans product? Cam Ward is the product right now, right? Like, that is what you're trying to sell, is like, yeah, we may not be good right now, but we just took this guy number 1 overall. Somehow that doesn't seem to be attracting anybody. So maybe you got to see it. And I think Andrew makes a really good point here. The Titans have no narrative that they're selling. They need to find something exciting. I think Cam Ward looks all right. The problem is there's no explosive plays. And I think that's a big part of it is, yeah, Cam Ward looks good, but the results just aren't there. He had the one nice throw last week to Alec Imaner for the touchdown, and that's an exciting play. Didn't seem to get a lot of people back out there yesterday. He says they signed Ridley and he's getting 2 targets. He did get 7 yesterday, actually. He got 7 targets, only caught 1. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But overall, it's just been it's not just bad, it's boring for the Titans right now. You went down early with the pick 6, and that was just a horrible sequence for Cam Ward. And I get what he was trying to do. And it's kind of what we talked about last week of, you want to see Cam Ward take what's given to him. And that was what he was trying to do there. He was just late and didn't set his feet, lobbed it, didn't see Kenny Moore, who, that might be the easiest pick 6 I have ever seen in my life. I'm sure there's been worse ones, but I mean, you put me in Kenny Moore's shoes right there, and I think I could have picked that off and taken it back. I don't think Cam Ward was horrible yesterday, but that play was horrible, and it set the tone. And the Titans, this team's not good enough to dig themselves out of a hole, as we saw yesterday. They went down 3 scores, and, you got a couple garbage time touchdowns, but not nearly enough to get back in that game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Lance from Clarksville is on the line. Lance, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Well, hey, everybody's going to go out there to watch a quarterback that there's nothing around him. What they should have done is trade that number 1 pick and got whatever the Giants were offering, and then got a lesser quarterback than him. They got too many holes for that young man to support this team and to have enough good plays for people to have a hope. They're not going to go out there and watch him have 2 or 3 good plays a game and watch them get their brains kicked in every week. People pay too much money to go out there and sit and watch that crap. You could have told it the very first of that game yesterday. I told my wife when the game started, here comes a 3 and out. And it's pretty much that, because the kid can't stand back there. Yeah, they got 2 offensive linemen hurt, but there ought to be they got to have enough behind the starting lineup to compensate for when somebody gets hurt. And they're that thin on talent to get people to come out there. So why in the crap do you want to go out there and watch? I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Lance. I will still not get behind the idea that they shouldn't have taken Cam Ward. Like, I get it. This team has holes, but if you feel like you had a franchise quarterback sitting there for you at number 1, you do not pass up that opportunity. Like that, it has almost never been done. When have you ever seen a quarterback needy team trade away the first overall pick to somebody to come up and take a quarterback? It doesn't happen, because if everybody thought he was a franchise quarterback, which if the Giants were willing to trade that much to get him, then they clearly did. Cam Ward was worth it with the number 1 overall pick. And we've seen the flashes of, hey, this guy can be the playmaker that you need him to be to compete with some of the good quarterbacks if you continue to develop him and you put the right pieces around him. So the Titans should not have traded that pick. The good news is you're going to have another chance to trade a high pick if you want to get more opportunities at the dartboard, because honestly, you're probably going to get, top 5 pick feels pretty safe. And I'd get it. The quarterbacks haven't looked great in the college football ranks so far. Like some of the guys that we expected to be in contention for the number 1 overall pick, they haven't exactly shined so far, but you should have a chance to either get an elite player or trade back and get a bunch of picks because the Titans are going to be picking pretty high again this year.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't have traded the pick either because if you believe Cam Ward's the guy, then you simply just do not pass up on that. I think for all the negative, at least Mike Borgonzi, it appears, the early returns appear that Gunnar Helm's going to be a guy. Jim Dike is going to help this football team. Alec Ayomanor appears to be that guy. Cam Ward is the hopeful franchise quarterback. So those were all rookies that are one of the positives about this team so far.
Right.
And he played a huge part in drafting that.
No,
so
I get it. Like you have a lot of holes on this team. You need a lot of good players in a lot of important positions. But when you have a chance to take a franchise quarterback, you take the franchise quarterback. 9596 asks, why didn't the Titans cough up some money for a Sam Darnold or a Geno Smith 1-year deal? Well, Geno, the Raiders traded for him. Would have kept the fans excited, and Ward would be able to develop. Cam Ward needs to play. I never understood the idea of wanting to sit Cam Ward because you'd be sitting him just for the sake of sitting him. This is a guy who played 50-plus games at the college level. He threw the most touchdowns in Division I history during his time in college. Like, this is a guy who's played a lot of football. Like, Anthony Richardson had played 12 games in college before he got drafted. Same with Trey Lance coming out of North Dakota State. Like, those are your project guys who you're drafting based on traits and trying to develop them. And the Colts obviously ruined that by throwing Richardson into the fire. But Cam Ward was not that type of prospect. Cam Ward is a guy who produced at the college level and needed to play. I could understand getting somebody better in that room with him to maybe help develop him, but I think I have no issue with the way the Titans handled the quarterback room this offseason. Like,
I don't either.
You take Cam Ward first overall and you give him a chance to go play. That was really all it should have been. Trevor says Titans currently sitting at pick number 3. Yeah, I mean, it's way too early. Honestly, it's too early to look at the first overall pick race until probably mid to late December, just because of all of the strength of schedule tiebreakers. And there's always weird games like last year with Drew Lock and Joe Milton winning games down the stretch that helped the Titans get the number 1 pick. But you can safely say Titans probably going to win no more than 3 or 4 games, right? Like, and I feel like that's kind of optimistic based on what we've seen. That gets you right around the top 5, if not higher. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have any thoughts on the Titans, we'd love to hear from you. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Justin says, Cam is a rookie. He's going to have mistakes like the pick 6 yesterday, but I can't say that keeping a head coach that is actively hurting the team with bad game management, and there seems to be no fire under this team. Week 1, you had the Broncos trying to give you the game, and there was no urgency to pounce offensively. Yeah, I mean, we played the Michael Pittman cut from yesterday. If that's not an indictment of what Brian Callahan's doing right now, then I don't know what is. Basically, the Colts saying, yeah, we saw it before they even put the ball down that this team wasn't ready to play today. That goes back to the head coach. And you parlay that with the issues he has in just managing the game and making decisions, it's not looking good. And again, I don't think they're going to fire him this week. If he's speaking to the media, usually they don't put a guy out to the podium just to fire him the next day. So he's going to be coaching on Sunday against Houston. I don't know how many more games he gets after that if it continues to look this bad. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll have more on the Titans throughout the show, and you can continue to send your thoughts in, but I do want to touch on college football. We've got 2 playoff contenders in the state of Tennessee, and both teams really flexed their muscle in some games that could have been considered letdown games this past Saturday. Both teams made it look easy in Vanderbilt and Tennessee. We'll talk about it coming up next in hour number 2. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Reaction Monday. Titans fall to 0-3 yesterday, 41-20 loss to the Indianapolis Colts. Now heading on the road for 3 straight weeks. We'll get back into the Titans in just a minute, but wanted to check on college football because there was some wins around local teams this weekend. Can't let the negativity bring us down. Tennessee, 56-24 win over UAB. And Parker, obviously you're much more in tune on the Vols than I am. The early offense for Josh Heupel has been just electric. I mean, every time I looked up in that game, I moved this weekend, so I was building a nightstand on Saturday afternoon watching those games. And every time I looked up at the TV, the Vols had scored another touchdown early on. Josh Heupel, and when it comes to game plans and just getting out in front of these inferior teams, for lack of a better term, teams that you should beat, he shows no mercy in the first quarter and into the second quarter, and that game was over before it even started.
Yeah, no, this was a classic. Josh Heupel in Tennessee had a heartbreaking loss last week to Georgia. This is one of those opportunities where you don't have time to sulk. You got to go out and you got to gain some confidence, and going into a tough environment this week in Starkville, Mississippi, to take on a Mississippi State team who is not getting enough love nationally, according to the AP poll. So it is great to see the early offense once again. And I think this just goes back to Joey Aguilar being able to run Josh Heupel's system the way Josh Heupel wants it. We didn't see that out of Nico last year. We didn't see it out of Joe Milton 2 years ago.
Yeah, and like you said, coming off the heartbreaking loss to Georgia, that's an easy letdown game. Facing UAB, that's not a team that you expect to come in and challenge you all that much. They came out, they put the pedal to the metal early, and they basically ended it before it even got going. Mississippi State coming up this week before a bye. It's a big game for Tennessee. If you can be 4-1 heading into the bye week, then you've got Arkansas, who lost to Memphis this weekend, and we'll talk about that later because Parker continues to beat me in the Monday headlines. And then third Saturday in October, going to Tuscaloosa on October 18th. So these are 2 good challenges for Tennessee to get themselves ready for what might be one of their, if not the most important games of the season for Tennessee coming up in just under a month. Do want to talk about Vandy and putting up 70 points on Georgia State. You can really tell that Vandy, they remembered that game from last year in Atlanta. I'm sure they talked about it all week. And they wanted to exact revenge in a big way. They scored 42 points in the first half, scored 70 in the game, despite Diego Pavia really not playing for the last quarter and a half. He came out for, I think, 1 drive in the second half. I was up there in the booth working most of the second half, but Diego Pavia looked good again, and this team rolled over Georgia State again, a team that beat them in Atlanta last season. That is the first time, as Parker mentioned in his update, since 1918 that Vanderbilt scored 70 points in a game. That 1918 game was a 76-0 win over the Tennessee Volunteers. Weird to say that Vandy beat Tennessee 76-0, but over 100 years ago they did back in 1918. And Joey Dwyer, who does a great job for Vandy on SI, tweeted out a snippet from that 1918 season. And just to show you how long ago it was that Vandy scored 70 points in a game. There wasn't a single starting Vanderbilt quarterback for the entire 1918 season, as the team was impacted by the war and the Spanish flu pandemic, with former quarterback Ray Morrison serving as an interim coach and starting quarterback for some games before falling ill himself. Legendary quarterback Irby Rabbit Curry had died in combat in August 1918.
What a name. Can you repeat that name one more time?
Irby Rabbit Curry.
Irby Rabbit Curry.
Yes.
Sounds like something I'd get at a restaurant.
He had died in combat in August 1918, so he couldn't play quarterback for Vanderbilt that season. Unbelievable. That is the last time that Vanderbilt scored 70 points in a game, because there were plenty of 60s. It was part of my job for the radio broadcast. I was scrolling through to find the last time they scored 70. Lots of 60s, 67, 68. They even scored 63 2 years ago against Hawaii. But this was the first time scoring 70 since 1918. And they beat the brakes off Georgia State in that game. really impressive from Vandy. This is a Vanderbilt team that you can just see the depth and the improvement in talent over the last couple of years. And a lot of that is some of the New Mexico State guys they brought in, Diego and Eli Stowers and MK Young. And you've got Tim Beck, who, as an offensive coordinator, some of the stuff that he does and the way he schemes things up, he does such a great job, especially with the personnel that he's so accustomed to, having worked with Diego for 4 years now. But the defense is what started to impress me the most. Is that defensive line is deep. You've got good corners, you've got good safeties, you've got good linebackers. Like this is a Vandy team that I know a lot of people out there are kind of still brushing off. Like I think people are still trying to give the same old Vanderbilt excuse of like, oh, eventually they're going to prove that they're still Vanderbilt. I don't know about that. This is a big week. This is a big week because you do have to face a Utah State team Utah State's a better team than Georgia State is. Utah State has competed. They lost to Auburn. That's their only loss. I think they beat McNeese this week, 48-7. So this is going to be a tougher matchup than Georgia State. And also mentally, it is a little bit tougher to get locked in for this game when, obviously for Georgia State, you had the revenge factor there of we want to beat this team because they beat us last year and shocked us in Atlanta. You don't have that with Utah State. There's not the natural bulletin board material for you. And it also is a week before you head to Alabama for what is it crazy to say that game day could end up being in Tuscaloosa that week?
Yeah, game day could eventually be in Nashville when Vandy plays LSU. That's a possibility.
There is a chance, and it's unlikely. Partially because of the way game day chooses their games. And, just as Vandy had their chip on their shoulder for this Georgia State game, Alabama is going to be locked in on that Vanderbilt game.
Oh, yeah. When was the last time we said Alabama had Vandy circled on their schedule?
Like Alabama has this Vandy game circled 8 times in red ink because they want to get that revenge like Vandy did with Georgia State this past week. But there is an outside chance that the Vanderbilt Commodores have back-to-back games where game day is in attendance. Like if it works out, I haven't really looked at some of the other games that weekend, but if it works out that Vandy gets that game day goes to Alabama for that game coming up next week, and there are a couple other good options like Miami, Florida State's that week. So unlikely, but it could go there. And Vandy beats Alabama, you might have a top 10 matchup between LSU and Vandy here in Nashville.
It's certainly a possibility. I still don't even think Vanderbilt's getting enough love by the AP because are there 17 better teams that have a better resume right now than Vanderbilt? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think there's still a little bit of logo scouting going on.
100%.
Like
100%.
And we've gone through some of the snafus, the errors with the AP poll this year. Like now that it's kind of widely available to see everybody's ballot and some of the mistakes that are being made, Vandy can put all that away if they beat Alabama in 2 weeks. But first one is Utah State. They got to beat Utah State. But I was really impressed with the way Vanderbilt played on Saturday. 70 points. Again, for the first time in over 100 years.
Yeah, by the way, this is a little bit off topic, but they announced Tennessee's rotating 3 schedule opponents for the new SEC schedule.
Yep.
Alabama, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt.
There you go. I think that would be the 3 that I would guess, right?
I'm a little mad. I'm actually a lot of mad that Florida's not on
Right.
there.
I was going to say Florida. I think the question would be Florida or Kentucky, right? Like Alabama's
even Georgia. I wanted Georgia on there too.
Alabama and Vandy, I think, are must because you play Vandy rivalry weekend after Thanksgiving every year. That one's going to stay. Alabama, 3rd Saturday in October. You can't change that. So the question was the 3rd one. I think Kentucky makes sense geographically, but yeah, historically, Florida or Georgia may have made a little more sense.
I would have been fine with Florida instead of Kentucky, and you have Alabama, Florida, Vanderbilt. Georgia is probably number 3 on that list for me just because they're the big 3 that Tennessee talks about every year. But I get it. Vanderbilt, the in-state rivalry. Okay, kick Georgia to the side. But Florida has to be in there. Has to be.
Yeah, 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines. Trey wants to get back on the Titans here. Trey, thanks for calling. What you got for us?
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Doing well.
Hey, I believe that I really feel bad for Miss Amy because she takes people at their word, that they're good at what they do. I'm sure she didn't do the due diligence and finding out who's a good fit for the team as far as the front office. I feel real bad for her that she got bamboozled into picking these people that evidently don't have a clue what they're doing, how to run an organization, how to put a good product out there on the field, to draft a player that was considered 3 months before to be a comp of Tyrod Taylor. And then they're going to throw Lewis Riddick in there to pump him up to say, yeah, this is what I believe. No, she got bamboozled. I really feel sorry for her, and it all goes back to her. What is she going to do? She can't keep her head in the sand. We got to do something. And y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Trey. Again, we went through the whole Cam Ward thing earlier in the show that I understand there was the one comp of saying a better Tyrod Taylor is what Cam Ward is being compared to. And I will take no Tyrod Taylor slander here, by the way. But
no more hokey slander around these parts.
It's already bad enough. They did win on Saturday. They got a win over Wofford.
There we go.
No longer a 0 in the win column for Virginia
I'm pretty
Tech.
sure Wofford still runs the triple option. I could be wrong, but I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't Tech did not cover.
Did you watch the game?
I did not. I did not watch a second of that game, actually. There were better things for me to do on my Saturday than watch the 0-3 Virginia Tech Hokies take on Wofford. Anyway, I think the Cam stuff, like any GM with the number one pick who needed a quarterback was going to take Cam Ward this year. Like that is how he was regarded around the league. That's why the Giants tried to trade up. But I also do understand Trey's point of like some of these guys who Amy is relying on have proven that they're not very good at their job. Brian Callahan's the one we're talking about now, but like Chad Brinker hired Brian Callahan, and it seems like he is absolved of blame right now. I'm not really understanding it. I saw, and I always forget who tweeted things, but I did see somebody speculated, what if Chad Brinker is just using Brian Callahan as a meat shield this year so that he doesn't end up being next on the chopping block?
Don't get me started on Chad Brinker, man.
Yeah. He's going to be the next one in line if they fire Callahan. Like it's not going to be Cam yet. It's not going to be Borgonzi yet. It's going to be Chad Brinker. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get back to college football here for a little bit longer. Vandy and the Vols, both with big wins over the weekend, both with big games coming up this week. Vandy trying to get to 5-0. Vols trying to head into the bye week 4-1. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Let's give something away. Be caller number 3 right now at 615-737-1025, and you'll win a pair of tickets to see the Preds take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in a preseason game tomorrow night at Bridgestone Arena. That is caller number 3 at 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. We're talking a little college football. We'll get back to the Titans in just a minute. Obviously, lots to unpack with the Titans' third straight loss and a bad one over at Nissan Stadium on Sunday afternoon. Titans hit the road for 3 straight, and we'll have more thoughts on Brian Callahan, Cam Ward, and much more later on. But we did see wins from the local teams this weekend. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, both able to get big, pretty convincing wins over UAB and Georgia State. And we touched on it a little bit last week about how, hey, this could be a setup where we see both these teams playing with a chance to go to the college football playoff in November. And I really think we are heading towards that scenario fast. Vandy's got to keep winning, and this is a big one this week. You have to be able to beat Utah State on your home field. And I think I just saw they're 22.5-point favorites right around there. So you have to be able to win that game. You can't have a letdown, but a real good chance that you head to Alabama 5-0 as a top 15 team in the country. And to get into the playoff, you probably need 10 wins. There's an outside shot with 9 because the Vandy does have a good strength of schedule. They got a lot of tough games on there. But I think you need 10 wins to get into the playoff. And I know we're going to get texts of saying Vandy's not going to go to the playoff. Right now, with the way they're playing and their resume, they are firmly in the mix. So I think they are real playoff contenders. They flex their muscles on Georgia State on Saturday, got some revenge. You need 10 wins. So if we map this out, the three home that are more winnable games for Vandy, I guess, for a lack of a better term, because LSU is a top 5 team in the country. I don't think you can, circle that one as a win. But Auburn, Kentucky, Missouri, coming to Nashville, those are games you have to win if you want to make the playoff. You beat Utah State. There you go. You're at 8 wins. If you can win one of the other 3 between Alabama, LSU, and Texas, that means Vandy could be 9-2 when they go to Neyland to take on Tennessee in November. And again, it's going to take a lot, but right now, you can't argue that Vandy is not in playoff contention with how they've played so far. I mean, they are not just beating teams, they are crushing teams. Outscored Virginia Tech 34-0 in the second half to win that game. They beat South Carolina, again, without Lenora Sellers for the second half, but they beat South Carolina 31-7 in Columbia. And then you put up 70 on Georgia State, a team that beat you last year. Again, I still wouldn't say it's likely. If you ask me, does Vanderbilt make the playoffs right now? I would probably say no. But I do think that anyone who says there's not a chance of it is crazy, because from what we've seen from Vanderbilt, they have played really good football early on. They beat Alabama last year. They took Texas down to the wire last year. If they can just win one of those 3 games between Alabama, LSU, and Texas, and win the games that you match up better on paper with, which that's not an easy task either, but those games are at home. You win those games, you have a good chance to go to Neyland with a chance to play your way into a playoff spot in November.
Did anybody think Indiana was going to make the playoff last year?
Right.
I mean, no predictions are crazy in August. Vanderbilt could. They have one of the best. I would go out to say they have one of the top 10 best resumes in the country through 4 weeks. So this Vanderbilt team is legit. The only reason the AP poll doesn't have them higher is because of that Vanderbilt logo.
Right.
And they weren't invited to the party in the preseason, like Illinois and Alabama and Georgia. It's just because they're Vanderbilt. Just because they woke up and they're Vanderbilt, they didn't wake up as Texas.
Right.
So
it's logo scouting. And I think if you had the AP poll voters just look at blind resumes and rank them, Vandy would be ranked higher in the AP poll than they are. Matthew in Nashville says Vandy is not a playoff team, Jake. This station needs to pump the brakes on that. Beating a crappy Virginia Tech team that fired their coach 2 weeks later and an overhyped South Carolina team are not the impressive wins you think they are. South Carolina, you can say they're overhyped now because Vandy beat them. Like that is, and I know they lost to Missouri this weekend too, but like I don't get why every time Vandy beats someone, it's more about the problems with the other team than it is about how good Vanderbilt is.
Jake.
And
it's the V logo.
And I just know, again, we talked about how Alabama is going to have that Vanderbilt game circled, and Vandy is too. Like Vandy wants to win that game bad, I'm sure, but you just look at Alabama and they're not going to be sleepwalking into that one for sure against Vandy in a couple of weeks. I just know that the narrative, if Vandy does lose and maybe loses by a couple touchdowns, which is, it's possible. Tuscaloosa is a tough place to go win. And Alabama obviously is one of the most talented teams in the country. If Vandy loses that game by a couple touchdowns, all of the talk is going to be, oh, well, Vandy is who we thought they were. But I think even if Vandy loses that game, has LSU looked all that impressive to you, Parker?
Not on offense, no.
Like,
that Clemson loss looks more or less impressive by the week.
I think that Vandy LSU game is going to be fun. And even if Vandy loses to Alabama, I think there's a good chance that Vandy can reestablish themselves as a college football player contender, even if they lose to Alabama. Again, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Richie from White House says, I 100% think Vandy can compete with some of the higher ranked teams. Just look at Clemson. They were favorites to win the national championship. And now who knows if they'll make it. Vandy, based off of how they are playing right now, could go beat a team like Clemson or even Texas. Right. Like it's.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Vanderbilt plays Texas.
Right.
I can't wait.
They play Texas later on this season. I mean, that Clark Lee and the job that he's done with this Vanderbilt team does not get enough credit. And I just want to shout them out. And to take this program from a team that lost 10 straight games 2 years ago to a team that is likely going to be 5-0 heading to Alabama as a legitimate playoff contender in 2 years is nothing short of miraculous. Chip from Mount Juliet says, I'm making a prediction now. If Vandy beats Bama, DeBoer is gone. Agreed. Like, I don't think, I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going to survive losing back-to-back games to
2-3
Vandy.
Alabama.
Yeah.
If they lose to Georgia and then lose to Vanderbilt, a 2-3 Bama losing to Vanderbilt in back-to-back years.
How about the games we got this weekend? Penn State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia. If Alabama is 2-2 and Vandy goes in and beats them, I don't see how Kalen DeBoer can hold on to that job.
I pray for all my brothers that are being dragged to fall weddings this weekend. It's just truly it's a crime.
No,
it's a crime.
It is. And that is why my wedding is in the spring. I told
smart man. Smart man.
People will say like you're being childish saying you don't want a fall wedding. It's not for me because obviously on my wedding day, like I'm not going to care about college football, but it's for my guests. Most of my friends and family members are big football fans. And, I know they'd come, but why not do it in the spring when there's no football?
They'd come kicking and screaming, but they would be there.
Yes, they would. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Predemption. Does that sound right? Predemption. In the YouTube chat says, I'd love me some Brian Kelly post-game if Vandy beats LSU. Yeah. The post-game podium/table where he's speaking would not be safe. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. We're going to revisit our Monday headlines coming up next because mine was horrible. Parker's was pretty good. We'll do it next. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall today prior to the Monday Night Football game. Head up there and watch the Lions and Ravens, plus ask about Circa's giveaway of a trip to Las Vegas for the Titans and Raiders game in October. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 the game. Titans falling yesterday, 2-0-3, 41-20 the final score. We will spend the entire final hour of the show on the Titans, but a couple more thoughts on college football. Parker, I may have had the worst Monday headline guess of all time.
I forgot what it was. Can you remind me?
I picked Tulane to beat Ole Miss, and whew, did Lane Kiffin make me look stupid. I didn't even see what the final score on that one was, but I was up in the press box at Vandy, and they had that game up on the TV. And just like what I was saying, every time I looked up, Tennessee was scoring. It felt like every time I looked up, Ole Miss was scoring again. Final score 45-10. So I was way off on my Monday headline guess. I also picked the Titans to win, and I picked Chim Dike to have a return for a touchdown. He found his seam once or twice early there. Obviously didn't end up working out. So I was a big ofer on my Monday headlines. Parker, I need you to be more confident in your takes here. You picked Memphis to cover, but not win outright. They came back. They beat Arkansas. They win that game outright. You got to go all in when you're making these Monday headline picks.
Here's the thing. I've never made a wrong prediction that wasn't screwed up by the players. I blame Arkansas for fumbling.
Yeah.
They had a chance to win the game.
Right.
I didn't like the spread. I think Arkansas was favored by 7.5 last time I checked. I thought that they would win by 3 points, a field goal. They had an opportunity to do that, but they fumbled. So not my fault. Not my fault.
I was way off, but you were not only right, you could have been even more right if you had picked Memphis to win. Other big scores from around college football: Miami beats Florida 26-7. Billy Napier's offense continues to struggle. Indiana 63-10 over Illinois.
Just a complete TV MA special right there.
Yeah, Kurt Signetti turned that one up. Oklahoma beats Auburn in the Jackson Arnold Bowl. Auburn was in that for a little bit. And I mentioned again, I watched a decent amount of this game. Cam Coleman, I think, is going to be a stud at the next level. I would love for the Titans to find a way to get him.
He is a stud, but man, I'm not saying this is the reason Auburn lost, because I thought Oklahoma was the better team, but Auburn got hosed.
Yeah.
By the refs.
Right. The SEC had to put out a statement basically saying, like, yeah, we messed this up and it should have been a 15-yard penalty. Instead, it was a touchdown. So tough for Auburn. Matthew in Nashville asks, who do you and Parker thinks gets fired first? Billy Napier, Luke Fickell, Mike Gundy, or Sam Pittman?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think it's got to be Napier, right? He's got what, a $20 million buyout?
Florida boosters will find
right. That's what I'm saying. Florida, it's not Jimbo level.
Sam Pittman is going to be going after this year too.
I mean,
I hate to say it.
I don't think any of those guys keep their jobs beyond this
Luke
year, right?
Fickell, it's just been rough because I think he's a good head coach. I mean, Wisconsin has no identity, and
right?
They used to have a great one, and now they don't. So that's a good question.
Well, and
who's the other coach?
Mike Gundy, who it's like he probably should have been gone a while ago. It's like Oklahoma State just seems to be fine in this holding pattern of just keeping him. But I think eventually the time is going to run out.
That's another program we need to have a funeral for.
Yeah. We had the Hokies funeral last week. I'm thinking Napier gets fired first. I mean,
that's fair.
Heading into this year, you were thinking that was going to be an electric offense with DJ Lagway running the show and the way they finished last year. And back-to-back games, I understand you're playing tough teams, like back-to-back top 5 games on the road against LSU and Miami. That's not easy. But to put up 17 points total in those 2 games, tough.
Before week 3, there were 120 teams that threw 5 picks or less, 120 teams. And DJ Lagway did that in a single game against LSU. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. If you would have told me that DJ Lagway, Arch Manning, and Lenore Sellers are not even playing like top 10 quarterbacks in their own conference, I wouldn't have believed you.
Right. We had a whole segment right before the season started about how deep the first round of quarterbacks could be this year. We're like, man, if the Titans get a top 5 pick, which it looks like they're going to, like, they could trade back because there's going to be so many quarterbacks that teams are, and I know DJ Lagway is not eligible, but like Sellers hasn't been great. Nussmeier, he's been fine. It's not like he's been horrible, but he hasn't shown that he deserves to be the number 1 overall pick.
Nope.
Cade Klubnik, Clemson's 1-3. Drew Aller really has yet to be challenged a whole bunch, but like this will be a big week. Honestly, if you're looking for a quarterback, Dante Moore is eligible this year, right? Like he can enter the draft, right?
He could, but I imagine he's going to come back for another year.
I
because
guess he comes back, but like
he'll be the Heisman favorite, I think.
He's been one of the most impressive guys so far this year, and we'll see Aller and Dante Moore go back and forth this week in that game between Penn State and Oregon. But man, it's like the quarterback class of this year, and that's why you take Cam Ward, because you look ahead and you're like, maybe Arch Manning, maybe Nussmeier, maybe Sellers. And it does seem like Sellers, based on traits, might end up being the number 1 overall pick. But you don't know what next year's quarterback class is going to look like.
Cade Klubnik is in that class. They polled a bunch of NFL scouts and executives, and Lenore Sellers was the favorite to be the first quarterback selected. I think Nussmeier was second.
And hey, last year, we all thought it might be Carson Beck going number 1.
Carson Beck is in there now.
Carson Beck's starting to sneak his way back towards first round conversations. I mean, I don't know if he is going to get taken all that high, but I think he's a guy that somebody is going to make a bad decision and take a flyer on him in the 2nd or 3rd round, which, as we've pointed out, usually does not work out. Jalen Hurts might be the last one that's worked out in the last 10 years. And I know there are other success stories, like Drew Brees was a 2nd round pick. Derek Carr was a 2nd round pick. So like there have been quarterbacks who have come out and been good, but for the most part, if you're taking a day 2 quarterback, they don't seem to work out very often. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have any college football thoughts, 2438 says Wisconsin is trying to play Cincinnati style offense without the type of players that Cincinnati had. You have to run an offense based on the players you have. Yeah, it's been bad for Luke Fickell. And it's tough because I really liked him, and I felt like he was waiting on the right opportunity to leave Cincinnati, and Wisconsin felt like such a good fit.
Oh man.
And you just never know. Like it's the same thing with Brian Callahan and the Titans right now. It's like you can love a hire when it's made. And I think pretty much universally, Titans fans were pretty pleased with the Brian Callahan hiring. They'd be pretty pleased. They'd be pleased with the firing.
We'll get there.
I think Titans fans liked the Callahan hire when they made it, but because it made sense. You finally got an offensive guru head coach, and you felt like he could develop a young quarterback, and it just hasn't worked out with either of the quarterbacks so far that he's been tasked with developing. So you just never know until the guy gets in the chair whether they can actually do it.
And look at their remaining schedule. They may not win a game. They may not win a game the rest of the year. Wisconsin by far has the toughest schedule in the Big Ten, I think.
Yeah. No.
3-9, a possibility. Likely possibility. 2-10.
It's a good question from Matthew in Nashville. Napier, Fickell, Gundy, Pittman. Who gets fired first? I think it's Napier is the easy answer, but I think by January, all 4 of those guys will be gone.
Yep.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. I have a baseball topic I need to get to. And I understand it's a Titans Monday. We're going to spend the entire last hour on Titans. But what is going on in Major League Baseball right now is historic, and it's not being talked about enough. We'll do it next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, wrapping up hour number 2 on the program. Titans falling 41-20 to the Colts at Nissan Stadium yesterday. Now 0-3 on the year. We will get to the Titans for the full final hour of the show, but I have a baseball topic I have to get to here. And this is something that I allude to the Tigers a lot on the show because I am a Tigers fan. But I wouldn't spend a whole segment on this if it wasn't something that is absolutely historic going on. The Tigers led the AL Central by 15 games at one point during the summer. They led the Guardians by 15 and a half games. That lead is now one game. 12 days ago, on September 10th, the Detroit Tigers led the AL Central by 9.5 games. It is down to 1. I mean, the Tigers have collapsed. They've lost 9 of their last 10 games, which is beside the point. The Cleveland Guardians, I have never seen anything like what they are doing right now. They finally lost yesterday, but they had won 10 straight games, and over an 18-game span of baseball, they allowed 28 runs in 18 games. The next closest was like in the 60s. I have never seen anything like this. It is going to go down as the largest deficit overcome in baseball history when the Guardians eventually overtake the Detroit Tigers this week.
You think it'll happen?
I have no doubt it's going to happen. The way the Tigers are playing right now and the way the Guardians are playing, these two teams play 3 games, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. And unless the Tigers can somehow win 2 out of 3, then it's over. The Guardians are going to win the division. It would be the worst collapse in MLB history. 14 games is the previous record, I think. 14 and a half is the previous record of most games overcome to come back and win the division. I've never seen anything like it. I just had to get that off my chest. Like, it is, and every time it feels like the Tigers have turned the corner. Like, Kerry Carpenter hit a home run last week, tied the game in the 9th inning. They ended up giving about 4 runs in the 10th to blow it. Then on Saturday, Tigers take the lead with a home run to make it 5-3. They give up 3 runs in the 8th and 9th and lose. And that was to the Braves, by the way. So any Braves fans out there, the Tigers couldn't even beat Atlanta, who I know is having a tough year. So anyway, I have kind of gone numb to it because I just can't believe what I've been watching for the last 2 weeks. 9.5 games. That was the lead. Literally less than 2 weeks ago. And it's down to 1. And if the Guardians had won yesterday, they'd be tied. I've never seen anything like it. And I know baseball doesn't get a whole lot of run around here because there's no MLB team in town. But I know there are people who follow baseball around here. And I just wanted to put it out there that what we are watching may have never been done before. And I cannot believe that the Tigers, who had the best record in baseball at the trade deadline or at the All-Star break, are probably going to miss the playoffs. And even if they do make it, they're going to have to play in a wild card series. It is unbelievable.
Crazy to think about. So I know there's not always just one thing to pinpoint it to, but if you had to pick the reasons why this is happening, what would you say?
The Guardians have made some sort of deal that has allowed them to not lose a game. I don't know.
A deal with the devil, maybe?
Yeah, there's some devil magic going on there in Cleveland.
Some black magic.
No,
what everybody likes to refer to the Chiefs. So whatever voodoo witchcraft they had going on.
Yeah, and I don't understand how they've gotten here. Jeff Tuttle on X says we saw the complete reverse of this by the exact same team last year. Yeah, the Tigers last year in August had a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs, and they did it. This year, at one point, Fangraphs was rounding up to a 100% chance to make the playoffs, and they're probably going to miss it. Gino says, Tigers doing Tigers things. Tigers fan since I was a kid. Detroit teams setting the wrong records. Tough being a Michigander for all 4 major sports. Yeah, somehow I ended up picking the Tigers and the Titans as my team, so, double whammy. I cannot believe, because, you go through in your head when you're a baseball fan and your team's in the lead. All right, if the team chasing us wins all of their games how bad can we be to still make the playoffs? Like it goes through my mind of like, all right, well, if we lost, if we go 2-8 here and they still won all 10, we'd still lead the game by this many games, or lead the division by this many games. I didn't think it was actually going to happen like that. To blow a 9.5 game lead in 2 weeks is historically bad. And they've still got a chance. Like it's tough to feel like it's over when the team is still in first place. And you've got a chance to go control your own destiny against that team this week on the road, but it feels over. And I just wanted to point that out that, as bad as the Titans have been, and I know we're all mourning how bad it's been for the last 3 weeks, I'm also dealing with my baseball team setting the record for maybe the worst collapse.
And Virginia Tech on top of it, Jake. I mean,
I don't know what I did. Like, what did I do to be stuck like this?
Oh my gosh. I mean, do you need me to get you some tissues at the break? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, we did the funeral for Virginia Tech last week. I guess I'm doing the funeral for the Tigers right now.
They changed the way the postseason is constructed. So only 6 teams will make it from the NL, 6 teams make it from the AL.
So it was 4 for the longest time. It was the 3 division winners and 1 wild card team. Then they added the wild card game. So it was the 3 division winners and 2 wild cards would play a 1-game play-in to get into the divisional series. And then after COVID, they changed it to 6 teams. Top 2 division winners get a bye, and then 3 wild card teams. The Tigers also had like a 95% chance to have a bye, and now it is less than 1% chance to have a bye. So they're going, if they do make the playoffs, they're playing in the wild card series too.
This is crazy. We're even talking about this.
I understand. Like I know that there are probably a lot of people who don't want to hear about this, but I just had to put it out there of how historically bad this is right now.
They were a shoe-in. I feel like at the All-Star, they were a shoe-in.
Well, they also made 2 trades for starting pitchers who had 5.5 ERAs when they traded for them, and Chris Paddock and Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton got DFA'd yesterday because it is funny. You trade for pitchers with 5.5 ERAs. It's almost like they have 5.5 ERAs when they pitch for you too. It's weird how that works. Anyway, I'm not going to drag this out much longer. I just had to bring it up because this isn't just it's not just a Detroit story. This is not just a Cleveland story. This is a national story of one of the worst collapses in all of sports in history is going on right now. And we'll see. There's 1 week left. If the Tigers can somehow hold off the Guardians and get into the playoffs, we'll see what happens. But it has been the last 12 days. It's almost like it's a nightmare. I cannot believe what is going on right now. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. That's all the baseball talk for me today. We are going to get back into the Titans in the final hour of the show. A headline that gets swept under the rug because we watched the Titans play so horribly yesterday. T'Vondre Sweat re-injures his ankle in practice and has to go on IR. That is a huge loss for the Titans. And we saw it yesterday with Jonathan Taylor pinballing off tacklers and scoring 3 touchdowns, having another great game. So Titans going to be without T'Vondre Sweat. Also, we put a lot of the blame on Brian Callahan. We got to talk about that pick 6 from Cam Ward a little bit further because that set the tone for the day. Michael Pittman said that the pregame walkout set the tone for the day, but on the 3rd play of the game, when you throw a walk-in pick 6, it wasn't going to go well for the Titans at home yesterday. So we'll talk about all of that coming up next. Also, a thought on Calvin Ridley, because the Titans need more from a guy they're paying $92 million over 4 years. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. More Titans reaction coming up next in the final hour of the show here on Next Man Up 102.5 The Game. Final hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Reaction Monday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly reacting to the Titans' third straight loss to start the season, 41-20 against the Colts yesterday at Nissan Stadium. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Back into the Titans here. It has not been good enough at any level. Players, coaches, management. But I did want to touch on the headline from this weekend that has flown under the radar, with how bad the team played yesterday. T'Vondre Sweat re-injures his ankle and is now out for at least 3 more games. It's so tough for the Titans to build this team up when 2 of their key core pieces are just not on the field. And I understand injuries happen. Like it's not anything anybody did. These aren't soft tissue injuries, I don't think. Like when Vrabel was here, you saw hamstrings galore, but a hip for JC Latham, an ankle for T'Vondre Sweat. It's just so tough to see this team that was supposed to take a step forward in large part because that 2024 draft class was supposed to be good, but you don't have those 2 key players on the field right now. And Sweat for sure will not play again until at least the game against the Patriots on October 19th. And who knows what's going on with JC Latham. He hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. So I would say probably not a great chance that he plays against Houston. There's a chance, but if he doesn't play against Houston, he better play in the next game against Arizona, because it's like, at that point, why wouldn't you put him on IR? So I hate it, because you want to see this team at full strength to get an idea of where this team is headed and the trajectory of the growth that they can have. But when you're getting beat in the trenches like they are on both sides of the ball, because you have injuries on the right side of your offensive line and your big nose tackle isn't out there on the defensive side, it's tough to really tell what this team can be and whether they can develop, because 2 of your most important players up front just are not on the field right now. And I just don't think you're going to see the true year 2 jump that you should from Sweat and Latham, because they just haven't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah, this is a very interesting situation. I know the Kevin Winston injury makes a little bit more sense to me, just because he's coming back from an ACL tear surgery. There's a little bit of soreness, so they're trying to manage that. But this T'Vondre Sweat, the first the tonsillitis and now the ankle, it's all just a little weird to me. But yeah, it clearly has a huge effect on the defense. You could tell through the first 3 weeks when T'Vondre Sweat is not out there, because Daniel Jones and Matthew Stafford in back-to-back weeks, no pressure whatsoever.
It was funny. We were talking about it on Friday of like, Matthew Stafford is a guy who you expect to get the ball out quick. And he's going to be a guy who, even when you do get pressure on him, he's going to have an answer for you. Daniel Jones, at least historically, is not known to be that type of guy. But man, yesterday there were 2 or 3 times where you felt like you had him. Jeffrey Simmons at least twice had Daniel Jones. He escapes, and he had the long run. He got out of trouble a couple of times and made some throws. Like, Daniel Jones is not supposed to be a guy who can carve you up like that. And what a start to the season for Daniel Jones. Still hasn't turned the ball over, I don't believe. He has 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. I saw it on Sunday Night Football yesterday. I think he's the first player in the Super Bowl era to do that in his first 3 games or something like that. So
yeah, there might have been one other player mentioned, but yeah,
right.
No, that was, I remember the stat.
So, man, props to the Colts. They came out, they punched the Titans in the mouth, and, Cam Ward obviously helped with that. We'll get into that in a second. But the Titans had no answers defensively. And Denard Wilson, you talk about how good that defense was in Denver. I mean, they affected Bo Nix. They caused turnovers. Yesterday, it just felt like the Colts could do whatever they wanted. And it didn't matter. You got them into 3rd down and 7, 3rd down and 8 a couple times, and they would just convert, or you'd get a penalty. And we said it earlier. special teams, if you want to hang your hat on something, that's about all you got, because the offense hasn't been good enough in all 3 games, and the defense the last 2 weeks has just been atrocious.
It's been awful. I sit there in the press box and I watch, and Daniel Jones has forever to throw, and it's just pitch and catch. Matthew Stafford, the same thing. He's a future Hall of Famer. He'll carve up a defense even after 17 years in the league, because there's no pass rush whatsoever.
Right.
I wish I had that much time in the pocket when I played.
No, I know. And it's even when they did get pressure, they couldn't tackle him. And the tackling was really bad yesterday. I mean, you look at that long Jonathan Taylor run, there is no reason he should have scored a touchdown on that play. I think I saw a Colts reporter saying, it might have been Stephen Holder from ESPN, said that I guess Shane Steichen was excited about that play call specifically. I guess they had seen something on film where they could kind of wipe out the Titans defensive line. But like, even with the way they designed that play, it should have only gone for like 7 or 8 yards if the Titans could just tackle. At best, it should have gone for like 20 yards, but no one could get Jonathan Taylor down yesterday. It was a failure on a lot of different levels in yesterday's game for the Tennessee Titans. But you're not going to see Tavondre Sweat out there, at least for the road trip coming up. And J.C. Latham, who knows when he's going to be back. Titans had to play with backups at both spots on the right side of the line. And to be fair, I don't think the offensive line wasn't any different really from what we saw last week, right? Like, Cam Ward got sacked 4 times. So you're going down.
Penalties were still there.
Right. Like it was still bad. It wasn't, but it's not like it was Ravens game in 2019 where Cam was just on his back every time he took the snap. So Wes in Clarksville says, shout out to Marcus Mariota. He has more wins than the Titans. Yes, he does.
I almost did the funniest thing yesterday. I almost wore my Titans Mariota jersey to the press box.
Really?
I was so close to it. I wasn't going to do it, but that would have been hilarious.
My fiance was wearing a Marcus jersey at the game yesterday. So, shout out Marcus Mariota. We'll always love Marcus around here. And, he did get a win for the Commanders yesterday. The Titans just aren't good enough up front. And when you're missing J.C. Latham and Tavondre Sweat, you're going to continue to get picked on. And it's tough to watch, but I think we've got to get used to it at this point. We're going to see it at least on the defensive line with no Sweat for the next 3 games. I really hope J.C. Latham can come back this week, but it's the fact that he hasn't practiced in back-to-back weeks doesn't make me feel great about it. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam from Portland is called in, wanting to talk about Brian Callahan. Adam, thanks for calling. What you got for us?
Well, maybe we should just start saying what a great coach he is and see if it rubs off the other way. Man.
Reverse psychology?
I've been saying it since pretty much like the halftime of the Denver game, man. Like I don't know what else to say except I think he's going to poison the rest of the team. Like Jeff is what he is. I would be happy to get rid of him, but I would have been happy to get rid of him before the season. But if he wants to go with Callahan, he could for sure go with Callahan. Like I think our team has a lot of potential. And if you listen, like around the league, there's plenty of fan bases that feel like this. The Giants are losing their freaking mind right now with Brian Dable, but he looks like Belichick compared to Brian Callahan. Do y'all not get that? Like Callahan, I've never seen a coach so many weeks in a row do something where you talk about the coach. Like usually we'd be ripping our players. At 0-3, we're ripping our players every year. Like, oh my God, we got a block. We can't do this and that. This is all the coach. Like, yes, the players aren't good enough. I get that. But the coach has brought them all down. They all start at even kill, and then he brings them down with his stupid decisions. Like, how do you pick yourself back up if you're a young team? So, I don't know, dude. I've just never seen anything like him. He's impressively bad. I've never seen anything like him.
No, it's really bad, Adam. Thanks for the call. There are a lot of aspects to being a head coach, and it does feel like Brian Callahan is failing in all of them. Like, team wasn't ready to play yesterday. That was evident from watching the game and from what we heard from Michael Pittman and the Colts, that basically, like, you could tell that team didn't want to be out there. In-game management has been bad. Like Adam said, you can't have this many weeks in a row where we're talking about the coach, right? Like, you cannot be talking about the head coach costing you points 2 out of the 3 weeks. And really all 3 weeks, not knowing what the right decision heading into the half should be. Like, too aggressive week 1, so he reels it back in and gets conservative week 2, tries to do it again in week 3 and completely botches it. Like, that cannot happen. And I mean, the players aren't getting better, are they? Right? Like
Alec Edelman might be.
Right. There are examples.
He's the best receiver through 3 weeks.
For sure. And we're going to talk about Calvin Ridley before the show ends today. But the players aren't getting better. Like, Bill Callahan is supposed to be a legendary offensive line coach, and he is. Like, you can't take anything away from Bill Callahan and what he's done in his career, but it's really disappointing that with the talent and the investment they've made on that front, that Cam Ward has been sacked 15 times in 3 games. Like, it's and part of that's on Cam. Like, Cam can't hold the ball as long as he has. The one early in the game, he slipped again. He'll comment about the grass and the turf, I'm sure, but
which I do agree with him on, for the record. But
no, I agree. I think it should be grass, but like, it's going to be turf. There's no point in having the conversation. It's going to be turf. Callahan, there's really not much you can point to say, yeah, that's at least a reason to keep him. And again, he's scheduled to speak this afternoon, so he's not getting fired this week, but I think it's going to be sooner rather than later unless things change in a big way, which, if you've been watching the games, don't think you can count on any big changes happening over the next month or so. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We do have to mention Cam Ward. Like, Cam Ward doesn't deserve all the blame for yesterday's game. The whole team didn't play well enough. The whole coaching staff didn't coach well enough. But man, did Cam Ward set the tone in a bad way to start off the game yesterday. We'll talk about that pick 6 next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Monday morning. Titans lose again, 41-20 to the Colts. They're 0-3 for the second straight season under Brian Callahan. They head out to Houston for the first of a 3-game road trip. The Texans also 0-3. That is the AFC South Toilet Bowl coming up on Sunday from, is it NRG Stadium now? I was about to call it Reliant Stadium, but that's the old one. Brian Callahan obviously is going to get most of the criticism today. You lose that game, you were really never close, and he made another bad decision at the end of the first half. But Cam Ward, he set the tone yesterday with maybe one of the worst pick sixes that I've ever seen. Like, Will Levis's was bad in the way that he should never have even thrown the ball. But this one was different in that Cam clearly thought, he was thinking of, I need to take the check down here. Like, let's not force it. He didn't set his feet, and he just kind of flicked it over there into the flats for Tony Pollard. He said he told him the wrong route, but I don't know. Kenny Moore jumped right in front of that and took it back for an easy pick six. And the game was never really close after that. Cam Ward, I think, he has been fine. And he did make some plays down the stretch. Like, he made some good throws. The touchdown to Elikai Manor at the goal line was, that was a dart in a tight window, and he made the play. And that was on fourth down as well. So, Cam Ward's made some plays. He tried another one of his throwbacks where this one he was rolling left, threw it back right, and it hit Calvin Ridley in the numbers. Good coverage, but maybe one that could have been caught. So, Cam Ward, I don't think he deserves all of the blame. Not even half of the blame for yesterday's game. But man, what a tough way to start that game when you elect to receive, and on the third play, you're already down 7-0. It felt in that stadium yesterday like everybody knew, all right, well, this game's over about a minute and a half in. And it's a tough feeling, but the way this offense is played, you put yourself in a 7-0 hole. They've only scored 3 touchdowns in 3 games, and 2 of them were in garbage time. Like, it's tough to dig yourself out of that when you start the game with a pick six 3 plays in.
Yeah, no, it was over really from the start, because I just had a bad feeling about it when I walk into the stadium and I see that it's 30% capacity, 20 minutes until kickoff, and then Cam Ward throws the pick six on the opening drive of the game. You cannot throw a check down that late, especially if you're going to lob the football like he did. And it gave the defender Kenny Moore plenty of time to break on it, pick it right off, and just trot into the end zone.
It was a gift. It was a gift. He lobbed it over there, and Kenny Moore, honestly, I think he might have gotten impatient waiting for that ball to try and jump it at the right time. It can't happen. And the one thing we've been able to say with Cam Ward through the first couple of weeks was, hey, he's not putting the ball in harm's way. That can't happen, especially that early into the game. And again, it's one game or one play from Cam Ward, and I thought he was fine for the rest of the game. I thought he responded well. They got him on the move, and he hit Chig for a nice gain up the far sideline, and then the seam route to Chig on that drive. It was similar to those plays in Denver of was it the best throw? Probably not. It was high. Chig had to jump, but it did hit him in the hands. The question you have to ask on those plays is all right, yeah, was it the best throw? No, but should he have caught it? Probably, especially on third down. Maybe that changes the game if you can get a touchdown on that first drive and respond after the pick six. But you go down 7-3, you look up, you're down 14 or at 10-3. They did make the goal line stand, and then it was 17-3, and it's all right, well, this game's over. The pick six, it set the tone, and the Titans just were never able to recover after that. And it's a rookie mistake by a rookie in his third game, but that's something that he cannot do moving forward, because it wasn't just last year. Will Levis started game 3 with a pick 6 of his own. And was that Jair Alexander who picked it off for the Packers?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. He jumped the route and took it back. But like that was one of those plays where you could look at it and say, man, that's a really good cornerback making a good play. This was one where it didn't matter who was out there. That's a pick 6. And those are the plays that you cannot have if you're going to be successful in this league.
Yeah, and the thing about Cam Ward is it's an experience, and you knew that when you drafted him that he is going to take a lot of risk, but oftentimes the rewards will outweigh the bad.
Yep.
Yesterday was an example of, okay, that was really, really bad, but then he did throw a touchdown late at the end of the game. That's just going to happen. Cam Ward's going to throw back across his body in the middle of the field. Cam Ward is going to make plays that make you hold your breath and say, no. And then big sigh of relief once the play's over. That's just part of the Cam Ward experience. It's a typical rookie mistake from a rookie. The difference between him and Will Levis, the flick that he had to Gunnar Helm last week versus LA, Will Levis threw that to the opposite team. Cam Ward didn't.
Yeah. And it's only 3 games. You can't make any big sweeping declarations about what Cam Ward has been, but you hope that that mistake is just that. It's a mistake that he learns from and realizes he can't be late throwing it out to the flat like that to Tony Pollard, and he doesn't do it again. But could be a red flag if, that was just not a good idea, not a good throw, and it ended up hurting the team seriously early on. Wes in Clarksville text in 615-737-1025. I ain't saying Levis is blameless, but I'm starting to want to issue an apology to Will Levis. Hope a functional team gives him a second chance. Yeah, I don't think Will Levis is blameless. Like a lot of the issues with Will Levis last year were on Will Levis. Like he made bad decisions, but I think you're starting to realize that Will Levis wasn't the biggest problem around here last year. And Brian Callahan, again, we've said it all show long. You cannot be having these conversations about your coach costing you points twice out of the first 3 weeks. And that's where we are. It should have been a 7-point swing against Denver. It ended up being a 4-point swing because Chimdike had the return. And it was a 6-point swing yesterday with taking the delay game and not really having an idea of whether you wanted to go for it and kick it, not getting the kicker ball out there, whatever it was. You cost your team points. Indy was able to go score 3 at the end of the half. Cannot happen. And Pat McAfee is, you can see if you're watching the stream over my shoulder, saying the Colts are the best team in football. Again, I'm not willing to go that far.
No homerism whatsoever.
Right, yeah. Wonder why Pat's saying that. But I will eat some crow on this Monday and say that I seriously underestimated the Colts. I did not think that team was very good, and they came in and they played another great game. They got a lot of talent over there, and Daniel Jones seems to be having a reawakening since leaving New York. And if you're going to pick a team to win the AFC South right now, why wouldn't it be the Colts? Like I think the Colts are going to end up being a playoff team with the way the Texans have played, the way the Titans have played, and, I just don't believe in the Jaguars.
Yeah, neither do I. The AFC South is completely up for grabs. I do think, like I said on Friday, like I said last week, I think there's a hint of fool's gold with the Colts. I think they're a good football team, and I think they absolutely have a chance to win the division. I mean, they're 3-0, and the rest are 1-2 or 0-3. So they already have a good lead. Wait, the Jags are 1-2, correct?
I was going to say, I think the Jags won yesterday, didn't they?
Double check that.
I'm double check. I honestly did not pay. Yeah, they did. Oh, they beat the Texans, right? They played the Texans, so yes, they did win.
They're
so they're 2-1.
2-1.
Man,
yes.
I did not think that the Colts and Jags would be 5-1 through the first 2 weeks, and the Texans would be 0-3.
Well, the Texans' offensive line is atrocious. So that game next week, I saw a meme that said this game should be flexed to 4 a.m. between the Titans and the Texans. This is not going to be easy on the eyes.
Yeah. Dustin from Hopkinsville said, I said it before yesterday's game, my Super Bowl favorite is the Colts. I'm not going that far. I think this is still probably a 10-win team, but being a 10-win team is way better than I thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. So the Colts, I will eat some crow. I will say I severely underestimated the Colts last week, and they came in and rocked the Titans. So we'll see what they're able to do the rest of the year. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Reacting to the Titans losing their third straight game, 0-3 for the second straight year after falling 41-20 to Indianapolis at home yesterday. Time to talk Calvin Ridley. It has just not been good enough for the highly paid wide receiver one for the Titans. We will talk about the pass catchers and maybe if the Titans start looking at trading some pieces at the trade deadline coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Final half hour on this Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly reacting to the Titans' 41-20 loss to the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. Titans fall to 0-3 ahead of a 3-game road trip coming up starting this week in Houston. Chase and Big Joe are coming up at the top of the hour. Sure, lots of thoughts from them on the Titans' third straight loss. I want to talk Calvin Ridley because heading into this season, the hype was astronomical for Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward. The connection between those two guys, that Ridley was going to have a 1,300-yard season, and I was buying it. Like, I got to say, I was buying it based on what we've heard from practice, what we saw in the preseason. Like, it looked like they had a good connection, and it just has not shown up when the live bullets have started flying. 1 catch on 7 targets yesterday for Calvin Ridley. 1 on 7 targets. And I don't know if there was a blatant, egregious drop yesterday from Calvin Ridley. And if I'm forgetting one, maybe remind me. But, I mean, there was the bobbled one, the pass that was tipped in the red zone where Ridley on the second attempt, it hit him in the hands. It's not a drop, but that's an opportunity to make a play on third down for your quarterback.
Should have been caught, though.
He should have caught it. It hit him in the hands. I understand, like, the ball was deflected. It was spinning. Like, it's not the easiest catch in the world. He should have caught it. The throwback from Ward into the end zone, again, had a guy draped on his back. Probably still should have caught it. 1 catch on 7 targets, and it was for 27 yards. It was a long play. Titans were able to dig themselves out after a sack or a penalty. It was 2nd and long, I believe. The rest of the Titans receiving core yesterday had 22 catches on 27 targets, if I'm doing the math right. Yes, 22 catches on 27 targets. So pretty efficient there. They qualified 4 of Cam Ward's passes as not targeting anyone, throwaways. But 22 of 27 to everybody else on the field, pretty good. 1 for 7 targeting Calvin Ridley. You're paying this guy nearly $25 million a year. He's got to start making plays for you. Like, I understand there weren't a ton of easy balls that went through his hands yesterday. But when you're paying a guy that much to be your wide receiver 1, it's not just making the easy plays. He's got to go make plays for you and help out the quarterback, and he has not done that through 3 games.
It's like the same conversation with the Dan Moore situation or the conversation we've been having. If I'm paying elite money for a service, I expect it to work. And especially if I'm paying $90 million to Calvin Ridley, and it's not like they can just get out of the deal after this year. So Callahan talked about this yesterday. How do we get Calvin Ridley out of this slump? And really, the only way I think you can do it is he knows. He's been in this league for a while. He knows that he's in a slump. He knows that he's dropping passes. You don't have to tell him that. I think the only way that you can really help him get out of this is to encourage him. Yeah. I really think that's it. Give him a little bit of confidence so that at least he can go out and perform on the field.
7988 on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says Calvin Ridley has a 38% completion percentage. So when Cam Ward targets him, only 38% have been completed. The next lowest Titan is Tony Pollard and Chimere Dike with 50%. Gunnar Helm is the best at 85. Chigakankwa has the most yards at 120. Ridley leads the team at yards per completion at 14 yards per catch. Just hasn't been catching the ball enough. Again, like you can't keep having these conversations of he was what? Four catches on 8 targets against Denver. He had 3 catches last week against the Rams on, I want to say 6 targets. So he's about 50% and then goes 1 for 7 yesterday. Again, like it's not all on Calvin Ridley. Cam Ward has to be better too. But when you're targeting your supposed number 1 wide receiver who is primed for a breakout year and he's been this bad, something's got to change. And starting to wonder if Brian Callahan does get let go in the next month, let's say before the Patriots game or after the Patriots game, sometime in mid-October, before then, Brian Callahan is let go. Do the Titans just start selling things off? Like, do we start to see Jeffrey Simmons' name on the trade block? Do we start to see Calvin Ridley's name on the trade block? Xavier Woods maybe could be a guy you throw out there. I don't know if anyone's going to take L'Jarius Sneed, but like, does it start to become baseball is the best example of it. You'll see it in basketball too, of like just a fire sale Titans become full-on sellers, try and get as much draft capital as they can for next year, and try and build around Cam Ward with whoever the next head coach is.
Yeah, I think you definitely got to consider shopping some of these guys. The problem is when they come to the Titans, and they themselves may not be poor players, but when they come to the Titans and the outcomes are what they are, they look poor to other teams. I'll take a Tyler Boyd, for example. I feel like Tyler Boyd still had some left in the tank, but when
Robert
you go,
Woods.
when you go and you have the type of season that you had with Will Levis throwing you the football, nobody wants you. Tyler Lockett might be the same situation.
I mean, I think, and when you say shop these guys, Jeffrey Simmons maybe gets you. I think he could get you a first-round pick. I do.
That's maybe.
I think that's what you're asking for if you're the Titans. You want a first-round pick, and that's why I don't think Jeffrey Simmons does get traded. Like, I don't know if the Titans are all that interested in moving him, and I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of teams that are willing to give up premium draft capital in the middle of the season for a defensive tackle who, I mean, he made some plays in Denver, but hasn't proven that he can do it consistently enough. And Calvin Ridley, I think you could get something for if you could find a team that's willing to take on that contract, which is a big thing. But when I say something, I'm not saying a second-round pick is probably like a compensatory third or a fourth for Calvin Ridley. I mean, I don't know if you're getting much more than that, but you do need all the picks you can get right now. And I do wonder if this road trip goes as bad as I think most people are expecting it to, if the Titans start to put some names up there on the trade block and see if they can add some draft picks for next year. Easiest way to add draft picks would obviously be getting a high pick and trading out of it. But I just wonder, the way Calvin Ridley's playing right now, you mentioned, is his stock going to be all that high? But maybe you have a couple of showcase games for him over the next couple of weeks and see if he can raise that trade value heading up to the trade deadline.
I just don't know if he has 8 receptions on 21 targets, which is he's catching 38% of his footballs.
Yeah.
And stats don't always tell the whole story because some of those, Cam Ward puts a little heat, Calvin Ridley may not be expecting it, but overall, he's dropping the football too much. He's not there to make a big play when you need a big play. So what does that mean for his trade value?
Yeah, the trade deadline is November 4th. So I think odds are Brian Callahan probably not the coach at that point. Like, maybe they don't want to fire him midseason, but I just don't know how much longer you can let it go on like this. And if you've already fired the coach, you kind of mail it in this season. I just wonder if it makes sense if these veterans aren't producing for you, turn them into draft picks who, whether you use those picks or you could trade them to move up or down. Like, it just gives you more options. And I really don't know if having Calvin Ridley or Jeffrey Simmons on your team for the next 2 years really is going to make you that much better of a team. We'll see though. Sonny asked Chiefs and Calvin Ridley. Yeah. I mean, how quick does Calvin Ridley turn into a superstar if he goes to Kansas City?
Tyquan Thornton looks like a superstar right now, and they need all the help they can get at receiver.
That is true.
Who knows?
Do we see back-to-back years where the Titans trade a veteran receiver to the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't know. This is all speculation at this point, but Calvin Ridley's not been good enough, and you start to wonder whether he's more valuable to you as a trade asset than he is actually as a player. Because right now, he is not good enough. 1 catch, 7 targets yesterday. Again, wasn't blatant drops yesterday like we saw in Denver, where the ball hits him in the hands and he's unable to haul it in. But it's not like he's out there. Do you think opposing defenses are really worried about Calvin Ridley right now?
I'd be more worried about Alec man.
Right. Like, maybe the issues Calvin Ridley is having is because they're focusing in on him. But right now, even when he gets thrown the ball, he's not making plays. And you need a guy that you're paying that much money to make plays for you, not just be another guy out there. And so far, that's pretty much the maximum of what Calvin Ridley's been. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Last call for phones. If you have any thoughts on the Titans' loss yesterday to the Colts, we will get to them in the final segment. Again, Chase and Big Joe are coming up at the top of the hour. We'll wrap up our show after this. Next man up here on 1025 The Game. Finishing up the show on this Monday morning, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Titans 0-3 for the second straight year, 41-20 loss to the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. And just overarching thoughts, I said it last week that I felt this was Brian Callahan's chance to prove that he had things going in the right direction. Go out and win a football game. Don't just, if the Colts had just given it to you, win it 17-13, something like that. Go out and win a game. Be impressive. And they didn't do it. In fact, they did the opposite. They got beat impressively by the Colts yesterday at Nissan Stadium. And I mean, the takeaway I have from it is I just don't really see a path for him to dig himself out of this hole. Like, he's not getting fired this week. He may not get fired next week. He may not get fired till the bye week. But it feels inevitable that at some point during this season, he is no longer going to be the head coach of the Titans. I mean, we haven't seen anything to show that this is heading in the right direction in pretty much any avenue. And so I don't know when it's going to happen, but it feels like yesterday might have been the last chance to, we're past the point of no return at this point.
Yeah. Yesterday was the nail in the coffin for me. You can't be the head coach of a football team and continually cost this team points, continue to put your rookie quarterback in positions that don't benefit him and help him grow. There's no defending Brian Callahan after yesterday. And I can't think of a single good thing that he's done to help this franchise go in a positive direction from where they've been the last 3-4 years.
He is going to speak to the media coming up in a little under an hour. So we'll hear what he has to say. And it sucks. Back-to-back years. I mean, it's September 22nd and the season's over. I mean, again, mathematically, yes, obviously they could go on a run and figure this out, but they've shown us absolutely nothing to make us think that they're going to, they're even going to win a game. Going 0-17 is hard in the NFL. Bad teams win all the time in the NFL. But would I pick the Titans to win any of their remaining games except for maybe the Saints right now? Probably not. Like, I think I'd pick them to beat the Saints at home. And they're probably going to be underdogs in every other game they play.
And you might get a divisional win.
Right.
The Browns, they just beat the Packers yesterday, so who knows?
And that one's in Cleveland. Yeah, you're right. Like, usually you'd guess one home division win comes their way, but it didn't last year. They went 0-3 against the division at Nissan Stadium last season. So, I don't know. It seems like we're just playing the waiting game now of when does Amy finally pull the trigger and get rid of Brian Callahan? And it's a tough place to be. I don't like coming on here and talking about losses every single week. Like last week I wasn't on every day, or last year I wasn't on every day, but like I did the show with TD on Fridays and it got tough towards the end of the year to find an hour of stuff to talk about because the team's just so bad. And it's tough that we're heading in that direction where not only do the games in December not matter, but the games in October probably aren't going to matter very much. And that's not where you want to be as a fan base, as an organization. But this is back-to-back years where the team is just not going to be very competitive.
And I tend to be a glass half full person.
Me too.
But
I try to be.
What's the hope here?
Right.
What's the hope?
Right. That's what's tough about it is like, I try and be an optimistic person. I don't consider myself a pessimist when it comes to the Tennessee Titans in general. Like I usually try and look at the bright side, see what could be, but there's nothing. There really is. And you're selling hope when you're an NFL franchise who isn't very good. Like good teams can sell results. Bad teams have to sell hope. And outside of Cam Ward, where's the hope? There really isn't much. And clearly the hope around Cam Ward isn't enough to get people in the building, as we saw yesterday.
Yeah. You have Elikao Manor, you have Chim Dike, you have Gunnar Helm that could be promising young rookies.
Right.
But what would draw a head coaching candidate to the Tennessee Titans right now?
Well, and it's tough because you mentioned the young people, the young players, and it's like, yeah, you want to have hope, but like there's a difference between being a young and scrappy team that like you know, we've seen a Titans team like that before, where yeah, there's a lot of youth and maybe they're not very good right now, but this is a team that has some talent and they'll play up and they'll beat somebody they're not supposed to. Like, this team has some young pieces, but they're not doing anything with it. Like, you're not winning these games. You're not even competitive in this game yesterday.
It doesn't help if you can't stop Molasses in December. You get no pass rush. You get no help from that front seven, the front four whatsoever.
Yeah.
Your offensive line, I mean, the right tackle with the injuries, J.C. Latham and Kevin Zeitler being out, that doesn't help. I mean, it's just not a good situation.
No, it's just bad. And you'd love to be able to watch your young players compete in games where you have a chance to go win. Like, let's look back at like the Titans in 2017, even before AJ Brown was there, like the Eagles game at Nissan Stadium in overtime. That team didn't end up making the playoffs in 2017, but you got to see Corey Davis, or was that 2018? Sorry, 2018.
Yep, 2018.
That was Corey Davis's second year.
Was that AJ Brown's rookie?
No, AJ
Second
was
year?
2019. It was Corey Davis's second year in 2018.
Yeah.
When you play the Eagles, who are the defending Super Bowl champs, and you beat them in overtime because your young quarterback hit your top 5 pick wide receiver for a touchdown to win the game. Like, that was exciting to watch. And you knew that team wasn't going to be a Super Bowl contender, but you could see the growth. Right now, like, fine, we get to watch Cam Ward throw touchdowns to Alec Iamander when you're down by 21. I'd like to see, even if you go 6-11 this year, you'd love to see some of those plays between your young players actually matter for the outcome of the game. And so far, they have not.
There wasn't a single point in the game yesterday where I thought the Titans were going to win. Not a single point.
No.
Not even in the day. Like, even when I was driving to the stadium when I was going, I just did. The energy wasn't there.
No, I think the Broncos and Rams game, at the very least, you could point to that there were times in that game where you're like, all right, this team's in it. Like, they got a chance. Yesterday, there was no such moment like that. They got the ball back 10-3, and then you're maybe like, all right, maybe they can move the football. And then it was 17-3 before you know it, and the game was pretty much
and you blink and it's 41-20.
Right. So another bad one for the Titans. We have, I feel like we've sufficiently unpacked that one today, but we'll have more on the Titans, of course, tomorrow. Do want to mention good Monday Night Football game tonight.
Very good.
Lions-Ravens in Baltimore. Like, that's, if things go right for those teams, maybe a Super Bowl preview. I mean, the Ravens, they lost to the Bills. Lions lost to the Packers, but both really talented teams. I think we might see a good amount of points on the board. So I am excited for this this Monday Night Football game tonight. So the primetime schedule so far it's been solid. That Ravens-Bills game, we saw on Thursday Night Football, the Dolphins hung in there with the Bills. So excited for that one tonight coming up on ESPN. Also, Commodore Hour tonight on 102.5 The Game. So make sure you listen in to get the latest after Vanderbilt's win over Georgia State, putting up 70 for the first time since 1918. Big win for Vanderbilt on Saturday. Again, Titans fall 41-20 yesterday. They are now 0-3 on the year and start to wonder, how long is Brian Callahan going to be around in Nashville? He will speak to the media coming up in just over half an hour. That will do it for us today on the show. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelly signing off. Chase and Big Joe going to have their full reaction to the Titans' loss yesterday. They're coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.